Let us say hello to the first caller of the day, and that happens to be the independent MHA, Mr. Paul Lane. How you doing, sir?
Pete, I'm doing great this afternoon. How about yourself?
Not bad at all. Mount Pearl, Southlands. There, I got it in.
There you go.
Yep.
Absolutely. Pete, the reason why I'm calling this afternoon, I want to speak to the story which first appeared in the Telegram, and certainly I've seen it on the VOCM's website now, about the school busing. And the company that, I guess, had 18 buses that were inspected, spot inspections done by, I guess, motor registration through Service NL and so on.
And had been previously inspected.
Taken off the road.
Right, but they had been previously inspected, too. That's a curious thing.
Well, that's very troubling, to say the least. I mean, the fact of the matter is, according to the story, at least, there's 3 inspections, as I understand it, that would take place every year. There's one done, I guess, through the department, through motor registration. There's 2, as I can gather from the story here, that per year that would be done through, I guess, an approved garage or service provider or so on. And then there's also spot inspections, which can happen in addition to that. Mm-hmm. And the fact that we have a fleet there of 18 buses, half of them come off the road, given the fact that school only started, a month or so ago, and I would assume that inspections would have been done or should have been done just prior to school opening for the year.
Certainly hope so.
We would well, again, these are questions we need answers to. And then to see that we have all these issues around brake lines and around all the safety equipment not operating. I mean, we had doors and windows that have been seized shut and all this kind of stuff. I mean, this is not a case of, to my mind at least, I'm not convinced that this would be a case of, somebody was inspected, everything was top-notch, and then all of a sudden, a couple of months later, all of these deficiencies just happen at the one time, and that we got doors and windows that are seized shut. Like, that doesn't happen overnight. So
yeah, what is it? Seven
for sure.
7 of the 9 are completely out, is my understanding, and 2.
I think it's 2 that are completely out, and 7 that are.
I had it the other way around. I thought 2 were okay, but couldn't carry passengers, so they can be actually driven around. The other 7, I thought, were
okay. It may be it's one or the other, but either way, half the fleet is not can't be used for the purposes for which they're supposed to be used, which is to carry our children, and safety is an issue. Pete, and the issue is, of course, that this is not an isolated situation. I mean, the whole issue of school busing has been raised, and I heard you mention, and Dave Callahan was on this morning with Paddy, and I mean, Dave has been tireless on this issue around busing, concerns he's raised around busing safety, around the tendering process, which, lends itself to potential safety issues and so on. And, like I said, it's not something that is at all new, but Dave and some others seems like they've been voices in the wilderness. They keep bringing these issues forward, but we haven't seen any action on them. So, I've had discussions with Dave and with other operators. Certainly, when I was critic with Service NL, I initiated the investigation, which is currently taking place with the citizens rep on behalf of Dave, and we'll see what comes from that. But given all of the issues which have occurred and all of the things that we hear, whether it be these now safety issues, whether it be issues around tendering, or whether it be all these other things that we're hearing from patients, not patients, but parents, around, the new double bus runs, courtesy seating, the 1.6 kilometer policy, and all of these things. What I have done now is I've written the Premier, and I wrote him today, actually.
I have your letter right here, yeah.
Okay, and what I'm requesting is that he would initiate, I guess, an all-party committee that would look at all of the busing issues, not just maintenance and safety issues, but all of the issues that are being raised around busing in this province, and to make some, to review the policies, procedures, and to make some recommendations to make things better and to make things safer for children.
I hope they actually pay attention to this request. It sounds like a reasonable way to go, and I hope they don't hire someone to do it at great cost, as we've seen in other circumstances.
Well, absolutely, Pete, and I agree with you. I mean, we've had I'm sick to death of studies that we pay all this money for, and they end up on a shelf somewhere collecting dust. And I made the point of saying in the letter, as you would see if you have it there in front of you, is that we have elected members of the House of Assembly, and there's no reason why we can't be utilized more than we are being utilized in terms of. I know we all have our issues that we have to deal with specifically in our districts, and we do have constituency assistants and so on to assist with that. But when it comes to other things like this, there's no reason why we can't be utilized to form a committee to look into all of these matters, to see reports that have been done in the past, to hear from stakeholders in the industry and so on. And in terms of the costs and so on associated with it, as I suggest in the letter, there's no need to incur any additional costs. We can do it when the House of Assembly is open. When the House, the House is only open from generally 1:30 to 5:30. So when we're in the budgetary process, for example, you have estimates, and they occur in the morning, usually from 9 to 12, or from 6 to 9 at night in the evenings during budget. So why can we not utilize a similar type process while MHAs are in town? And let's look at this serious matter.
Here, absolutely. Why not? And by the way, it says in the story I have here from VOCM.com, it says that 7 of its school buses were taken out of service and 2 put on restricted service, which means they're not allowed to carry passengers.
There you go.
So there you go. Half of the 18 buses in that one particular company, and I presume that based on this, that an awful lot more spot inspections are going to happen now, just to see if they're the odd one out or if this is common.
Well, Pete, it would certainly make you wonder. This is not the first time, like I said, this has been raised. Dave Callahan has raised these issues, concerns around retrofitting of buses and unsafe buses being on the road and all that.
It's fair to say he told us so. He said that this is going to happen, and it was inevitable, and apparently he was right.
He absolutely did, and it seemed like he was a voice in the wilderness for some reason. I don't know why. Perhaps people felt because he was in the busing industry himself that he had some sort of a conflict in what he was saying. But I mean, I don't think that's the case. I think that he was like a lot of people. He's a Newfoundlander Labradorian. He cares about our people, about our children, just like everybody else. And obviously, if he's trying to operate, he wants to make sure that in the best interests of the children and of his own business, that he can have vehicles on the road that are safe and do things properly and above board. And if the policies and procedures and the tendering processes and everything that we have in place are not allowing bus operators to operate businesses in a safe manner for the safety of children, then obviously that's a big concern. And as members of the House of Assembly, duly elected by the people, we have a responsibility to ensure that we correct that. And I'm suggesting that we do just that. And I'm calling on the Premier to call this committee, and I will be the first person to raise my hand and volunteer, to be honest.
All right. Well, we know there are some things you just can't cut the corners on. I would suggest this is one of them, and you can't set up the system so that it's almost guaranteed to happen. You can't do things and then be surprised by the result when it's pretty clear one thing leads to another. Anyway, sir, listen, thanks very much for this. I do appreciate it. We'll see where it goes.
Okay, Pete. Have a good afternoon. If I hear anything back, I'll certainly let you know.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Bye-bye.